Can I propose that we now start? I'll do a very quick introduction. My name is Ben. I am owner of Our Bookshop in Tring. I'm honoured that we've got two such amazing people, but obviously you all know Ollie particularly, most of you from his books and his TV shows. I suspect none of you came up against him on a battlefield anywhere. I should hope not anyway. And many of you may or may not know Craig. Craig is also a military man, Major General Craig of the Gurkhas, dare I say it. And Craig is also an author as well, and we'll be stocking his books too. So I will give a bit of a shout out to those in the shop. But I'm going to leave you all now. I'm going to be asking you all to supply me with questions digitally through the event, and I'm going to reappear at 30 or 40 minutes into the show and be asking those. So don't be timid. I'll be asking questions to Ollie and indeed to Craig if you want to ask Craig as well. Let me just mute Meady. Good. So thank you so much, Craig. Welcome to both of you and Ollie, and I'll see you in 30 or 40 minutes.
Great, Ben. Thanks very much indeed. And Ollie, fantastic to meet you at last. I've spent the last week reading this book. It's brilliant. It really is. But can we start? I mean, you said you came back, I think you said a broken man in 2014, and you had to build yourself up. Could you add a bit of detail about that? Because that's fascinating.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I left in 2000, I think it's interesting that, I joined as a young lad, and, you always think that the grass is always greener. I had no real experience of the outside world, but I got to the sort of, relatively speaking, the highest level possible in the military. And then you kind of, when you're on the inside of the barbed wire, so to speak, it's quite, you think you're invincible. And, I just thought, well, I've created a level of excellence here, so I can easily replicate that, doing whatever I want to do on the outside world. And perception and reality is something I now understand, but at the time, it was when I came out, the structure of my everyday had fallen away. My comrades had fallen away, which I took for granted. So my support network, and then sort of, I came from a culture where, and you'll understand this, Craig. I came from a culture where you work hard and then you play hard, and a lot of times in the military, it's like the fact that you go away and you come back and you have a well-deserved drink with the lads and all that. And I kind of carried that culture on when I left. But the thing is, my big expanses of work, and they reversed. So really, I ended up drinking a lot in those downtimes, because there was more downtimes than there was when I was in the military. And that turned into a bit of a negative habit loop over the years. And it's sort of spiraling out of control. And it was I knew I was having issues, and I did have issues from an early age. I had childhood trauma, a traumatic incident when I was 10 years old, which I didn't know at the time, but really did affect me. And behind the smile, it wasn't, I was the typical alpha male. Behind the smile, everything's great. Ollie's great. He's loads of fun, and everything's great for Ollie. But behind the smile, it wasn't the truth. And there was
sorry, you describe a sort of a journey that I think a lot of servicemen, particularly special forces, SF, go on. But what was the turning point? Because, when I look at you now, it's hugely impressive. You've had 3 books, 2 bestsellers, the new one just coming out, CEO of 3 different companies, working on television. Most people know you, as I say. My daughter thinks you're tremendous. And you've completely turned that around. How did that happen? What was the big thing that made you go on that path?
Yeah, well, the thing is, for me, and people are quite shocked when I say this, I didn't really find my purpose, if you want to call it that. I wasn't looking for my purpose when I was that age, but in the military, I didn't find my purpose there. And there was something I just didn't ever feel like it, there was always something missing. I actually stumbled across my purpose. In 2011, I ended up going overseas and working for a charity called the Grey Man. And we were busting kids out of child prostitution and slavery rings in Southeast Asia. And although it ended abruptly because of a political situation, it was something that was amazing for me. It was like an epiphany when I understood the power of helping other people.
Hmm.
And that was these kids. It was amazing. It was like, I didn't want anything else. I was like so overwhelmed and overjoyed and humbled that I was involved with that. And it ended abruptly. And at that point, I had to escape out of Thailand. The team had to escape out of Thailand across the Burmese border. And we ended up, I ended up back in Australia where I was living at the time. And at that point, I had nothing. I'd spent all my money on this operation in Thailand. And I had no job, no money, pretty much no house. And at that point, I was starting to have suicidal thoughts. Not all the time, but I always say, look, I never know if I'd have done it, but the fact that you're having the thoughts is enough. You know, it's enough. So it was really at that point, and I can remember saying to myself, Ollie, this is not how it ends. This is not how it ends. And that was in 2011. And from that point, it was a slow journey, a very slow journey to sort of get my life back on track, really start to cut away the negative habits or reduce at that time. And that was alcohol for me, and drugs and all sorts of, you know, I was after anything at that point, just on this path of self-destruction. And I came to the realization that I'd been bouncing around the globe for years and years and years, trying to find this external fix that was going to make me happy, make me fulfilled. And it's not out there. I then realized that happiness has to come from within. And I realized that at that moment in my life. And it was then I started to invest in myself. And then I got a decent job eventually over in Australia. And that was when I really made the decision, you know, that I wanted to start my company Breakpoint. And it was having a powerful goal that really overwhelmed my current circumstances. And that was, you know, that's the thing I recommend to anyone suffering with any mental health issues, that you need to have a goal that overwhelms your circumstances. Otherwise you become a victim of your circumstances. And that goal for me of creating the company, the business, was the one thing that pulled me through all those hard times.
It's an amazing story, and of course it's becoming more topical. I mean, for the alpha male that you describe yourself, and you know, you are special forces, you are absolutely the alpha male. Characteristics are there, but for you to talk like this is, I think, a really powerful thing for people who are going through these sort of problems. For young men particularly, I suppose also young women, but particularly young men who are looking at struggling and don't think it's manly to talk about it. You know, they try and suppress it and don't reach out for help. So I think it's a hugely good thing. And Breakpoint, the book that you wrote, that's your life journey and talks about led to the academy.
Yeah, basically, I mean, the book is called Breakpoint, and that starts, my first breakpoint was when I was 10 years old. I was at the circus in Burton-on-Trent in Staffordshire. And I I ventured into almost like, it was 1980, there was no health and safety, but I ventured into an area where the chimps were. I was fascinated with chimps because of Tarzan. I love Tarzan, and that was almost like Hollywood to me. You know, it was like Cheetah. And the mother of this baby chimp didn't take kindly to me threatening her young, and viciously attacked me and almost killed me. Yeah, so that was what I call was my first breakpoint. And really, breakpoint, the ethos and theory behind breakpoint is the moment that you decide to step into the short-term discomfort for long-term gain. Short-term discomfort for me was taking the fight to the chimp that day. The long-term gain was living. And, you know, that is, you know, it was my first break point, but it wouldn't have been, it was nowhere near my last.
No. And that philosophy, I mean, the book was a bestseller, and then you followed that with Battle Ready, which is sort of top tips for life, how to face the challenges of life, based on your experience, presumably. And again, that's been a bestseller.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And really, that Battle Ready picked up in that period, 2011. You know, when the realization and, you know, the appreciation, the understanding, the foundation of who I really was, total honesty with myself, that I was in need of repair. And it was that journey from that point, you know. So Battle Ready documents that journey. And when I came back to the UK, I had a dream of starting this business. It was overwhelming because of where I was currently. And really, I put myself into a boot camp for 3 months, and the aim there wasn't to build the business at that stage, it was to build me and to build the foundations and create a root structure that could sustain the growth for the goal that I had set. So really, that book really documents that journey. And like I said to you before, Craig, the routine and everything I established there is 3 basic things: mind, body, and nutrition. And once I started to really focus on those and appreciate them, mindfulness practice, exercise, nutrition, the return on investment was amazing. And also cutting away all those things that really weren't serving me anymore, and that was alcohol.
Yes, yeah. And then you did the transition, the television program. I know there were some questions that people have been sending to Ben about the TV program. How did that happen? Was that something you were pushing, or somebody reached out to you?
You know what? I tell this, and people on this call now, I'm taking it to the next level, all right? When I sat in that boot camp, right, I'm a big believer in visualization, okay? Now, I had an experience in Iraq where I visualized. We were working in a security contract, and it was about to come to an end. And I can remember that I knew that the only way, it's the same for security is a cost to a business, right? It doesn't make them any money. So the only time that it's valued is when it's tested. So I knew the only way that we're going to keep that contract is if we got attacked by the militia. And all night I sat there dreaming of the perfect attack, okay? And, even to the point where I could smell the cordite from the bullets as they went through the vehicle, in massive detail. I'm a big dreamer, always have been, and I get into very deep detail about it all. And anyway, I never thought anything would happen. Anyway, I forgot all about it next day, and I picked up the clients, and I was driving from Jordan to Baghdad. The attack, every little detail of that attack, how I'd imagined it, the smell of the cordite and the bullets, even the tasting of the champagne when we got the hero's welcome back in Baghdad, everything happened absolutely to the letter, the minutest detail. And from that point, I realized that the power of visualization, and also from that point, I never visualized getting attacked again.
No, I think that's a wise policy. Well, that's a good warning, because there's a tremendous story in here in the book where Alex Abbott, the hero, I mean, I say this for the readers, obviously, is traveling, as you say, from Jordan to Baghdad. I mean, is that, I won't spoil the plot, but is that based on that experience?
Yeah, I mean, that's the book. The book is, although it's fiction, the important things for me about writing a fiction book were the fact that I could still deliver those messages, to be totally honest and open. The thing we said before, or you commented on, Craig, the fact that, it's quite inspiring to see you being so honest and blah, blah, blah. That's what that book is all about. It's about a character that's a flawed character, That is reality. All this painting perfection that we see in Hollywood, all this painting perfection on social media it's not realistic. It's not true. So it's really important for me to be totally open and honest. And the person that is Alex Abbott is myself. He's a broken individual. He's really working in a war zone to pay for his bar bill and his social life. And, he gets drawn back into a place he never wanted to go back to, which is Baghdad, to on a rescue mission. And, the emotions Alex goes through, the story, the people he meets, the attacks on there, the actual attacks that are in the book are not a carbon copy, but they're inspired from real events. So, and that is why I got excited about actually getting into fiction, because I can use storytelling to really still deliver that inspiring message and point the finger at some very topical issues on a global scale.
Yes, I mean, it did make me wonder, because in the front of the book, where you give your dedication, you dedicate it to the men, women and children of Iraq who welcome you with open arms. And this bit really struck me. Thank you for your hospitality through the times depicted in this book. So, I mean, it is that it's your story, snippets from your life in Iraq, put into the book. I mean, it's quite remarkable that you survived, really, again, without giving the plot away.
Yeah, no, well, I'm here, so yeah, that's a good indication that the book's going to carry on going. But yeah, I mean, you know, the thing is, I mean, I've got, you know, I'm already extremely excited because, I mean, Alex won't be very happy, but I have got a long and hard and tough road for him ahead. So, you know, it certainly doesn't end with this one. But, you know, I find that it makes a story, for me personally, when I'm reading anything or when I'm watching anything, I don't really get that enthusiastic until I see these following words: based on a true story. When I see that, I am absolutely compelled to read it or to watch it. But until that point, I'm not a big, you know, I can't get excited about stuff that's just made up. I just, you know, yeah. But for me, it really is amazing that I can deliver that story, and it really is the blueprint of who I am. So,
I mean, you obviously enjoyed it. I mean, some of the characters, I love the names: Fingerstone, Biscuits, Burton, Badger Moles. I mean, these are based on people that you've come across, or these are sort of combinations of people?
Yeah, they're combinations of people. I've not pinpointed anyone that I used to, but they are. I mean, the characters behind the names, I mean, they're just so typical of people you'd serve with. You know what I mean? There's like people with missing fingers where they've been shot off, and there's all kind, you know, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you know yourself, Craig, being in the military. I mean, there's some of the best nicknames that you could ever come across. So, you know,
it did make me smile, I have to say. It really did. I mean, the other thing that surprised me, though, I mean, that he is flawed, as you say. The hero, Alex, is definitely flawed. When I started reading it, I thought, oh, I'm not so sure about this. This chap drinks too much. I mean, it did make me wonder. That was obviously your conscious decision, as you say, because he's going on a journey, and the journey, you know, is what's interesting about it, and the way he overcomes these challenges. And he's presumably going to continue, because I see the next book's out in autumn next year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He is going to continue. I'm really excited about it. And again, it continues my journey from that point. So, but really, you know, it's like the fact he's got those issues. I think as soon as if you provide these superheroes that are carved in marble from on another planet, you know what I mean? How can anyone relate to that? You know, it's like these, you know, people have referred to us in the past. You know, I've worked with people in the past, and they go, you guys are cut from a different cloth. And I won't have it. I won't have that said to me, because I just, you know, at the end of the day, I bleed and breathe just like everyone else. And it's so important for me to open up and be able for people to relate to me, as opposed to try and be this person faking perfection. And I'm just, you know, I'm a superhuman and all this kind of stuff. So it's really important that you can relate to your audience and really get a common strand with them.
I mean, I certainly had empathy with him. I certainly thought he's the kind of guy I'd go for a pint with. I mean, he probably wouldn't want. Well, he probably would want to go for a pint. Probably want to go for 2 or 3. But he was certainly that sort of person. Can I ask you about the writing, though? I mean, how hard do you find it? I mean, fiction, you've got a plot here that drawn from fragments of your own life. But how disciplined do you have to be to do it?
I mean, one thing, listen, I'm always looking for a silver lining, and, you know, that's one benefit of the lockdowns is, you know, having the bandwidth and the time to really focus on the book. So that's been a massive benefit, because I was actually panicking at some points. When we got the framework of the story together, you know, I have worked with an editor that helps me piece it all together, because I'm very good at describing the story, but it's very much in sort of block format. I can do all that, but when it comes to really connecting it and flipping backwards and forwards and that, you know, that's where I need guidance on. So really for me, it was about initially creating the framework of, you know, the characters, and then the framework of the story, and then sort of piecing it all together. And then obviously, I mean, it's a fiction book, so it's then, you know, how can we elaborate on that story? And, you know, so I found it highly initially I thought fiction it's not for me, because, you know, I've got my 2 books, Breakpoint and Battle Ready, and I thought, I'm so passionate about being able to change people's lives, you know, and I want it all to be self-development. But then it was like, like I said to you before, as soon as I understood that I could really piece you know, storytelling it's gone through, you know, it's lasted, that and mathematics has lasted cultures and ages and, you know, for years and years, thousands and thousands of years. And storytelling is such an amazing way of really getting people to absorb the content, you know, and the messages within the story.
I mean,
as soon as I got, you know,
sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying, as soon as I understood that way, that gave me the real drive because it had a purpose.
I think that's a really powerful point, isn't it? I mean, you people go and see films, they come away uplifted, or they see a role model, they see a set of behaviors. And if someone can read the book, someone, particularly young men, and it's not a sexist comment, but it will appeal to young men who see themselves as having flaws, perhaps they've... But I was listening to someone talk the other day that said by the age of 30, something like 30% of males will have a criminal conviction in the UK. But if that's against you, and if you're trying to find a job and you've got those sort of things, if you have people who have overcome challenges, who have flaws, who have problems, but still go on, whether it's you yourself in real life or Alex Abbott in the book, that's got to be a good thing. And if you can get that message across through a story, that I think you're right. I think that's a very powerful message.
Yeah, I tell you what, Craig. No, you're right. It's amazing. I think the big thing for me, you know what, a big turning point for me, and I think people need to appreciate the way we're wired, right? We think, you know, this whole, a leopard never changes its spots and all this. And so we think the life that we've been dealt and the character that we've been dealt and the sort of our habits and our behaviors, we kind of think they're set in stone and they can't be changed. And yes. I feel I am living proof that as soon as I realized that wasn't the truth, it made me realize that I had something to work with. I could make some changes. You know, I wasn't going to be the leopard that never changed its spots. So I was able to manipulate, change my behaviors, and really create a very different person just by the way I thought. You know, so I think it's important that people understand that regardless of what they've done, where they've come from, we can be whoever we want to be. It's just how, you know, how we go about that, and really it's simply down to the way we think. And it's amazing once you make, you know, have that shift in the way you think. So,
and what about the reception from the Special Forces community, from your former colleagues? Do you find there's any jealousy of what you've achieved, or there's a...
Yeah, haters will always hate, but it comes from a place of jealousy. And you know what I mean? From the outset, you know, when we got the introduction for the show, I mean, that was a bit twitchy for DSF, they call it, Director of Special Forces, because we signed the disclosure agreement, and you know, it was like, so we can't discuss things that we're not supposed to discuss. It can never happen. And initially, that first show before it came out, everyone was twitching a bit, you know. But then when it's come out and they realized that we're not selling secrets, it really isn't. You know, I see that program on TV is very much it's more about human psychology than it is the military.
Yes.
You know, and it really does not share. We're not digging deep into secrets. We're not giving tactics away. We're not doing anything. And you know, the show itself is a real inspiration to a lot of people that are facing the issues we discuss and focus on a daily basis, I think. But yes, I mean, the fact is we have had some kickback from people, but again, it's from a place of jealousy, and jealousy is not a good body to be in.
No, and I think you're right. I mean, you're providing a vehicle where contestants, be they celebrity or non-celebrity, are pushed to the limit and are faced with challenges. So whether it's set in the context of Special Forces selection or the jungle or a castle in Wales, it's the interest that people have in seeing other people struggling and overcoming, hopefully, and going forward. And as the books as well, have they been well received? From the SF community, or?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, again, all of our books, we have to put them forward for review, make sure that, you know, I know for, you know, each one of our books, especially the first ones, we've had chapters and chapters taken out, you know, things we can't really discuss. But I mean, in general, I mean, when I look at my books, I mean, it's look, I was in the military for 11 years. Now looking back, I'm 50 this year. it's really just a very small part of my life, actually. You know, it's the fact I am extremely humbled that I was in the military. I'm extremely humbled that I was, you know, I got to be in the special forces. But that is not my life. It's a part of my life. And, you know, although I reflect on it, I don't focus on it because as far as I'm concerned as well, my biggest achievement, I still haven't achieved yet. So
you're on a journey.
My journey is still very much that way and not that way. So, and that's reflected in my books. You know, I talk about special forces because I've got, you know, it was 11 years of my life.
Yes.
But, you know, I certainly don't, you know, it's not about giving tactics away, but, you know, there's always some pushback, you know, they're cashing in. You know, when I hear that language, I'm like, I'm making I'm earning a living. You know, it's like, it's not.
And you're doing it inspiring people, because I mean, certainly I left the military 4.5 years ago, but I still work with civil service, and I'm constantly seeing adverts to try and encourage young servicemen to join the special forces, because they struggle to recruit. They struggle to recruit the right standard. So anything that you can do to bust the bubble and that can say, well, you can get in, you can do this, I think that's got to be a powerful message. Can I know Ben's going to turn over to questions shortly too. The private military companies, the private security companies, Hexagon and Hercules, don't come out of the book terribly well, I don't think. I mean, is your experience that they are the bad guys? They're in it for the money, and they'll skimp on the body armor and they'll skimp on the weapons if they can get away with it?
Yeah, listen, when we first went to Iraq, you know, around about 2003, and this happens in every war zone. It's happened. Those that know sort of the anti-piracy, the maritime stuff, it's happened there as well. But in any war zone, initially what happens, they get in the experts, and you know, the experts get paid well, and everything's rosy for a short amount of time. But very quickly, you know, it's like the vultures arrive, and all these companies know how much money. There's so much undercutting, and people just trying to. And that's what I saw over time in Iraq. I mean, that was my first war as a civilian. And really, it was initially at the start, everything was rosy. Then all of a sudden, there was so much undercutting going on. I mean, it got to the point at one point that some of the companies were, you know, it should be ex-military of a certain standard. And then at some point, they were recruiting bouncers off the door in London. And next thing, they'd be in a war zone in Iraq with an AK-47, and you'd be like, whoa. And I'll tell you what, it's interesting. It's a threat for me out there, because we were working like under the radar, which is a bit of a double-edged sword, because, you know, if you've got all these very overt security companies, especially the Americans and also the military, and trying to sort of be a bit cloak and dagger and work under the radar, you know, you could also be the enemy to the coalition forces. You know, it's like that. So
yes.
You're a bit of a target for them as well. So, but really, you know, we used to see it sort of started going down, then all of a sudden it dropped like that, and then it was just a free for all. It was the Wild West of those times, and it was just everyone scrapping around. There was so much money in that country just thrown around everywhere, and everyone is just out to get it. They will step all over anyone, and it's cutthroat.
Because it did make me smile. I mean, again, I'll be very careful on the plot, but it did make, and that'll be my phone going. It did make me smile that there's a couple of guys brought in by one of the companies who are not of the quality of the others. And it did take me back to Kabul and to Afghanistan, and seeing, as you say, the bouncers from London with the wraparound shades and the big beards and the guts, thinking that you shouldn't be here. You are a liability. You're not going to provide protection. So that did ring very true, I have to say. It's very interesting. So the writing regime for the next book, out in autumn 2021. I mean, is it hard work to do the CEOing and the writing and the TV program? How do you fit it all in?
Well, luckily for me, I'm not involved with the UK show SAS Who Dares Wins anymore. So that has left a decent amount of bandwidth for me. That came at a good time for me, to be quite honest. I mean, it's kind of sad to see that, you know, to leave the lads, and also a lot of the fans are disappointed. But really, for me, you know, my priority is business. My priority is my books, my business, and second sort of priority, is the TV work. You know, it's done a great job for me. It's really given me a voice. It's created a platform for me, and I'm very humble for that. But you know, I've now got a few businesses. Luckily, because I've been, you know, working hard at those businesses since 2015, I have a very effective and efficient team that are all in place now. So,
Yes.
as opposed to being consumed by the business, I'm sort of I'm working over the businesses to make sure they all come together. So I've got a great team around me. That then gives me, they then appreciate that and give me the space I need to write my books and stuff like that. So
yes, is there more TV possible in the future? You're looking at other projects, or I mean, did you enjoy the experience?
yeah, no, it's been an amazing experience. It got to a point though, you know, one thing I'll say, and it goes back to that comment I made before, Craig. You know, I served in the military. That's in the past, and I said to my partner, I said, look, I'm reliving a part of my life that I prefer just to have as a memory.
Yes. You don't want to be defined by it. You've done other things.
Yeah. And I prefer, you know, there's also the fact I don't want to be, oh, that's the guy, that's the SAS guy. You know, I want to be the guy, I want to be the author, the inspiring, motivational speaker. You know, there's a lot more I can add to that bow. And then, but we have been signed up, and it's just finished. The last episode finished last night in Australia. So we've signed up SAS Australia. We've been recommissioned for another series of that next year. So I have got a TV commitment in that, and that's a 6-week project starting next March.
And are you on screen, or you're behind the scenes doing the advising?
On screen, it's like the original boys from the UK version are now in Australia, and it's amazing. It's amazing working out there.
Fantastic. And will there be a celebrity version of that, or is it people who are...
They've gone straight to celebrity on that one. Fantastic. And I think it's the highest viewing figures of any show. I think it's the second highest viewing figures of any show in Australia.
Tremendous. And it's great for drawing attention of the books and the good work. I can see Ben appearing, and I'm tempted to ignore him and continue talking, but I know he won't let me do that.
Ignore away. I suspect you get a fairly rugged bunch down in Australia, don't you? You're very good at this this program.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I mean, the Aussies have been hanging out for something like this. You know, they've been consumed for years and years with The Farmer Wants a Wife and Bachelorette and They need something a bit rugsy to suit their outback nature. Yeah. So no, it's been well received.
Fantastic. I tell you what, Brian Hicken, he was the first person to get a question actually, and he sent me a message reminding me. He emailed it as well. Which, okay, Brian, I'm doing it. I'm on it. So during the filming of SAS Who Dares Wins, have any of the participants surprised you the most for the better, or surpassed any expectations you had of them?
You know what? I think everyone that comes on that show, I sit there going, "Oh my God, what is your motivation to be here?" Because you know, when I was there, my motivation was getting an increase of pay and also joining, you know, the most elite fighting force in the world. So that was a massive draw card for me. And I sit there, you know, I look at the things that we ask these people to do, and I think, what is driving you? You know, it's like, so to be quite honest, everyone really impresses me. Even if they stay for a few hours, I'm still impressed. But one person that I underestimated that really did absolutely knock it out of the ballpark for me was Lauren Steadman. She turned up with, she's got one arm. And I thought, oh, we're gonna have to be sympathetic to her disability. And she takes the diss from ability, believe me. Wow. Amazing woman.
I love that. Surely there's a proportion, and this is my cynicism creeping in, that just want to be on telly. So they'll basically do anything to be on telly. So surely they get found out very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I mean, the people that do well on, or the people that get through that show, are the ones that very quickly understand that it's not an ego stroking process. You have to want to be there for you and for you only. And your ego is left at the start line. You realize you can't design the perfect outcome to make yourself look great. And you are going to really open up and be laid to bear. So
is it? Can I ask? Is it actually as you see it on the screen? I mean, it is hard. There's not, right, camera's about to roll. Put the cups of tea down. Put your bacon sandwiches down, and off we go. I mean, is it really? Because I always wonder this when I watch the I'm the Celebrity, Get Me Out of There. When the cameras are on, you think, well, they're playing a role, but the cameras are turned off and it's back to have a beer and a cigarette and whatever it is. Is it as tough as it's on the TV?
You know what? That's what, and people coming from other reality shows, that's what these, especially, you know, the celebs, they turn up thinking it's going to be like that. Oh, cut, everyone cut. Let's bring in the T-boat. And they're kind of when it, you know, when they've gone through something quite hard, they're sat there looking around. Initially, in the early days, they're looking around for makeup and wardrobe, and then all of a sudden there's no one there for them, and they realize it is so intensive, it's so immersive, and we make sure, and it always has been this way, that production are only there as a necessity. We've got to really make it clinical and fully immerse everyone in it. So no, it is not, there's no stop, it's fully immersive, and once they're in, the only way they can get out is pulling that number off.
Yes, yeah.
So it's a very interesting.
I'm pleased to hear that's reassured me. There's absolutely no chance of me ever volunteering for anything like that. I'm far too old now. But yeah, I think I take my hat off to anyone that does that.
I wouldn't either. The thing is, Craig, at least you did it at some point, whereas exactly. I run a bookshop. That's I'd have to lift some heavy boxes sometimes. Right, Susan Warren, thank you for the email. I would like to ask what Ollie thinks about women serving in the front line positions. Has he been on operations with female participants? And was there the same level of trust that he had with male colleagues? This is a loaded question, isn't it?
Whoa, be careful here, Ollie. Listen, I think if females can do the job, I think then absolutely they should be encouraged to do selection, and I'm all for it, 100%. The only other concern that's come, you know, that I've thought about, and to answer a question before I go on to that theory or to that thought, is I've worked with females on operations. I've worked with females in the military, but not sort of the same operations where you're sort of on the front line with the lads in a special forces team, like there's a small 4-man team, not in that respect. The only concern for me is human nature. And that is the biggest concern for me, that I know that myself and the majority of men, we feel like it's a natural, innate feeling to be a protector. Now, I think you could, my thoughts are that if you know, something, if it started to go a little bit wrong, you know, started to get noisy and that the rounds were going down, I think your attention could be very quickly taken off the enemy, and your focus will be on trying to protect your colleague, so to speak. So that is my only concern of whether it would work or not. You know, it's an interesting experiment, but first of all, you know, it's going to be a long-winded. You know, we're going to have to wait a long time to see, because first of all, women have got to be in the military and then have to apply for selection. So it's going to be a long time before we see how that all works. But like I say, if a woman can do that job and meet the standards, then I'm 100% for that.
I mean, it's worth adding, I think, that the Special Reconnaissance Regiment, who do a lot of covert surveillance, who do a lot of special operations sort of work, have to have high quality women as well, because in order to be able to blend in the communities that they're providing surveillance on, you need females, you need men, and certainly absolutely no reason at all why women can't certainly be on a level with and often exceed the men they're working with. So I think you're right, Ollie. I think it's about the environment, isn't it? I mean, that there are some areas where you've got to have high grade females working as well alongside male colleagues.
No, absolutely.
A friend of mine, their daughter is currently going through fireman training, or fire person training. I don't know what the official terminology is, and so there's that kind of thing. But she plays for my hockey club apart from anything else, and she's strong as a butcher's dog. She's absolutely extraordinary. And I suspect if I'm at the top of a ladder and, you know, she comes up there, she'll be able to lift me and carry me down without a shadow of a doubt. But it's the strength element, isn't it? That's the kind of the biggest concern, I suppose.
Yes,
Yeah,
Sorry.
the way that we're just, yeah, sorry, mate. The way that we're built is a big issue, because women predominantly are not physically upper body strong. I haven't got the upper body strength, and I know certainly a lot of the selection process is at the moment, because it's predominantly been for an age, it's been designed for males. I think it's it's tough to find those women that a selection of those women that could pass selection. I think it's tough in that respect.
Yeah, slightly going off on a tangent on this. I was thinking it was a weird thought in my brain as I'm walking to work. I have a 400-yard walk, so it's not a long thought I was having. But the issue of fitness, who defining, because obviously to be a special forces person, you've got to be remarkably fit, as fit as it comes. Are they the fittest people on the planet, or is it just different types of fitness? Is that the
Yeah, no, I don't think that they're not the fittest people on the planet by far. What typifies a special forces soldier for me is someone that can endure discomfort for long periods of time. I mean, obviously you have to be extremely fit. I mean, I went back to the Penny Fan or the Penny Van in Wales to actually, the first stomp you do up the Penny Van is 24 kilometers with 35 pounds of kit, weapon and webbing, and you have to do 24 Ks up, over mountains and back within 4 hours. And I just don't know how I did that. I just really don't know how I did that. I consider myself extremely fit now, but to come close to that time was like, that is a hard slog. But really, I think that special forces soldiers, the fact it's not, they're not. There's a lot of people out there that are amazing, absolute athletes. Some of these endurance runners, some of these athletes are a lot fitter. But when it comes to taking away their comforts, like their sleep, their food, and basically, creating that level of anxiety where they don't know what's going on, that then affects their mental stability. And that's really where a special forces soldier is, his strength lies.
Yeah.
I mean, it is interesting. When I think it was either on your webpage or on one of the things I was reading about you, that you did selection with a broken ankle at some stage. That I mean, that's the sort of resilience you're talking about, isn't it? That's not fitness. That's just, I will keep going.
Yeah, no, that was, I mean, that those that know the story, it's like I did selection. I mean, it was a dream of mine to, I passed, massive odds. It was like over 250 my first selection. I was one of 7 on the first, and then 2 days towards the end, there was an altercation with the Welsh farmer on the escape and evasion across the Welsh hills. And Glenn, I still remember his name, who dobbed us in, and I had to come back and do the whole lot again. And that was one of the hardest comebacks ever. To actually muster the motivation to actually go back and do that again was something I'll never forget. But then I went back, and then very quickly on my first couple of marches, one of the marches, I was coming down heavy pack. It was wet on slate, and my ankle went over, and I felt all the tendons snap, or at least, it was horrendous pain. Got down to the bottom, took my boot off, and my foot just ballooned. And I saw the DS, Nobby Knowles, the DS, and he like did this to the rest of the DS as if to say, he's gone. He's not, that's him done. And but for me, because it was my second time, I wasn't coming back, and it was either now or never. I knew that, pushing myself forward to get, to come back again, I knew that if I went away again, I wouldn't do it. So I was prepared to take that gamble. The training officer was pretty much arguing with me that he wanted to take me off because if I did fail the march, I'd never be able to come back anyway. If they took me off with a medical withdrawal, then I would be able to come back. And I just said no. And that was a real. I strapped it up with tape that night. Went out in the morning, absolutely got loads of broofing. I was completely broofed by every 10 minutes. I pretty much floated over the Brecon Beacons. But it was severe pain, and I was in tears. But I managed to just scrape through on the timings. and then my ankle started to get a little bit better, but it was horrendous pain.
It's that resilience, I suppose. It goes back to your point, Ben, doesn't it? About, is it fitness? Is it resilience? It's that mixture of all of those. But it certainly isn't for everybody, I don't think. And probably why they struggle to get so many people, or the number that they need to get through selection every year. Yeah,
I think it's really, you know, for me, it's like when you've got a why, the how becomes easy. And the why for me, why was it there? What was it doing? And that's in it. That's in everyday life. That's not just special forces. Once you establish the why, the how becomes just a process. And that for me, you know, the thought of being a special forces soldier, that was my why. You know, the lifestyle I wanted and everything. I was so passionate about the outcome that really anything on that journey could have happened. It was the outcome that was pulling me through. And you know, like I said, that the why was so powerful for me that you know, and nothing would have stopped me unless my legs had fallen off, so which they very nearly did.
It's quite topical at the moment, but I suspect you'll never see a special forces celebrity such as yourself appearing on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, you know, because basically you'd create all your own meals. Just
I'll tell you what, my agent's pushing for it, Ben. Dancing on ice and all that, they're pushing for me, but it's not happening.
You see, I could see you doing dancing on ice. I'm not so sure about I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Craig, come on, we started really well.
Yeah, what's your dancing like? Are you good at...
I'm a good dancer, that's the thing, and that's why all my friends are like, Ollie, you'd be brilliant on there. And I'm like, you know what they would do? They would say, it's the SAS guy, and next thing I'd be dressed up like some little bullfighter. I would be the laughing stock. They would have such a good time with me.
That's it. That's the sort of thing your military mates do, isn't it? They go, oh no, it'd be great. You'd look fantastic. It would suit you. But it is. I mean, it's a good point, Ben, isn't it? About I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I mean, if there is a reputation, a mystique, the last thing you want to do, I suppose, it takes courage to go and do those things. Whereas if you're not from that background, I suppose you don't have as much to lose.
Yeah.
I can remember they approached me to do. Remember that program called Hunted?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and I actually went to the production office, and they were like, "Oh, can you come in?" There was a celebrity one, and they asked me to come in so they could have a chat with me. And they said, right, so this is this, you know, you're hunted for whatever, 2 weeks or whatever it is. And yeah, you know, and get me all the sort of treatment of what it was all about. And then said, so what's your tactics? And I went, well, I'll just disappear for 2 weeks. And the conversation came to a very quick halt when they realized that it was going to be absolutely rubbish TV.
Yes. Yes, it's that mix, isn't it? That mix of the two. Yeah.
Good. Let's get to another question. Margaret Baxter, can you tell us about your nutrition? Are you vegetarian, vegan? Are you? Do you have a special diet?
You know, I've tried. This is a great question because I have tried every kind of discipline because I wanted to be able to, when I talk to people about whys and the why again, I need to have some education from experience, and it's the same with everything I do. Education from experience and knowledge from experience to be able to talk about that. So I have done paleo, I have done vegan. I was a vegan for a year. I tried that, and to be honest, I mean, I think what's hard, right now, where am I now? I make conscious decisions about what I eat. So what that means is I minimize or have no processed food, hardly any processed food. I choose to limit my meat intake, so I don't eat meat in the week. I have meat at the weekend. So it's really just being conscious about what I eat and being respectful of what I eat. Because I found that once you know, when you say you're vegan, I think when you create a label, it puts so much pressure on you, you know, in your life, you know, in a whole range of a whole facet of things. But when it comes to eating, you know, I'm busy traveling all around the world, here, there, and everywhere, and it really was difficult. It was difficult, and I was creating so much pressure, putting so much pressure on myself because I'd labeled myself a vegan. I mean, you know, you find a lot of people out there that say they're vegan, and then, oh, but I have meat every now and then. I'll say, well, you're not a vegan then, are you? So really, you know, for me, it's not about, you know, I don't label myself anything. I could say I was, you know, I just eat consciously. So I'm very aware of what I eat. I don't eat meat in the week. And I'm just, you know, very conscious. So.
Yeah. Good. Carrie Ann Wade asks, I'm interested to know about how Ollie got into meditation. She's tried it, but finds it very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have actually been exactly where you are right now. And I, again, you know, this, I'm coming back to this again. What is your why? Why are you doing it? It's the same with everything, right? If you want to give up coffee, why would you give up coffee? If you want to stop drinking alcohol, why? You've got to make sure that your purpose for doing something creates enough enthusiasm to carry out the process. So when those times really get tough and you start to question why you're doing it, and you're not instantly seeing results, you have to understand that you have to keep pushing at it. And really, you know, that comes into what we were talking about before, Craig, you know, the way we're wired, and a lot of things I talk about in my book. We are, the way we wired through evolution, we're creatures of habit. So we want to keep on doing the thing we did yesterday and the day and the day before that and the day before that, because as far as our minds are concerned, it's kept us alive until today. Doesn't care if we're happy or sad, whether it's a good situation or not. It just wants to keep on doing what we did yesterday because it's kept us alive today. And that makes us very extremely habit-driven creatures. Now, when we come to doing anything that we haven't done the day before, the day before that, it really is a struggle. And you have to remain absolutely non-judgmental for a period of time until you establish that as a habit. And that is tough. You know, for me, I was like, you think you've got 1,000-person audience around you laughing at you, saying that you're an idiot for doing what you're doing. And you'd be so embarrassed if anyone saw what you were doing. But really, you've got to understand, and this is about being able to separate your ego. That is your ego. You know, so being able to understand your emotions, understand your amigo, understand your amigo, call your ego that if you want, sounds better. It's just really, you know, you've got to focus and push through the short-term discomfort for the long-term gain. It's really, honestly, I could talk for hours and hours, as you can probably see, about this stuff, because, you know, I've looked, you know, I really go deep into the psychology and human evolution and all that kind of thing. So don't ever expect an easy answer when it comes to anything like that.
Fantastic.
All I'll say is to keep doing what you're doing, because meditation is an absolute game changer for me. And one thing I'll say on that, to answer the question in short, is get onto the likes of YouTube and then start to go through guided meditations. So you've got someone to listen to. When you're losing your concentration, focus on your breath and really start to clear your mind. And honestly, that was a game changer for me. Meditation was an absolute game changer. I did it this morning. I did it yesterday morning, and that is a habit I do every day.
We've got 2 or 3 minutes left, so I've got a couple of questions. One from Joanne Bailey, which I'll leave to last, actually. Is there any interest from TV for a character like Alex? Is this something that we could see on a big or a small screen?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's really the push. That's where we're going with this. You know, it's not it's not the ultimate focus of the book, but it's certainly an avenue that we're pursuing at the moment. So, you know, I've had some very supportive comments from people that have read the book, saying that this needs to be on the screen, on screen. And I think it'd just be an absolute powerful show. If you want to call it a show, I don't like calling it a show because it's drama.
Make a great film. Make a great film.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But then again, I think, you know, when I look at all my other books as well, I mean, I'm a bit biased, but I think also the life story, you know, starting off being attacked by the chimp would be a great story as well.
And right, let's finish with well, Joanne. I suspect Joanne wants to know where you live, actually. Question: where is his favourite place to go walking with his dog Murphy? I think that's his name.
The Long Mynd. We have a few places around here. So we have the Long Mynd, which is an amazing place up in Shropshire, absolutely beautiful. And also, yeah, in the local hills around. So you've got a Caradoc, you've got the Lawley. It's just amazing. Shropshire is a beautiful place, and I absolutely adore living here.
Fantastic. Good. Craig, can I ask you just to give a final kind of summary of what you felt the book? And
yeah, it is absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I mean, the flawed hero, as I say, I had the first couple of pages and I thought, oh really? But then I was hooked. I was off, and the flaws made him relatable. I could think, you know, as I poured myself a beer, I thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But it's great, and I strongly recommend it. It's a really good book, and I'm really pleased he's coming back, and there'll be another version of him in back end of next year. And I wish you the best of luck with making a film of it, because it will be tremendous.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you very much for that. And
Thank you.
And you're a veteran of many books.
Well, Craig has written, there's one I've just ordered actually for the shop, which is his Gurkha, which is a sort of history of the last 25 years, is it, Craig?
Of the Royal Gurkha Rifles, yeah.
Royal Gurkha Rifles. So I've got that ordered. That'll be in the shop on, what are we today? Tuesday. It'll be on the shop on Thursday. And I'll get Craig's other fiction books as well. So this is, yeah, I mean, let's give Craig a plug as well. But Ollie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you to Francesca. I can see her watching from the side. Your publicity, and thank you to everyone else who joined us. It's been a lovely hour, and those of you who are fans of Bake Off and other things, you can go straight into something else now. So well done. But thank you so much. And if you all want to put your cameras on, we can do a little round of applause. But thank you anyway to everyone, and we'll here we go. They're all coming, and volume.
You've got to see what's behind everybody, haven't you? Everybody that minutes of having a look.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
We'll see you all next time. Tomorrow night I've got Raina Wynn and Rachel Joyce, which will be a lovely event. So thank you all. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Ollie.
Bye.